up.
Okay, we're actually kind of early, aren't we?
Yeah, but it doesn't ever want to work.
Exactly at the time.
You know, and then you're like, okay, my meeting starts at 1, but now it's 1:15 because I can't get it.
Yeah, you
Good
gotta start the
point.
live streams early, just so that you know they're up. We do the same thing with all of our meetings
Yeah.
upstairs.
Because I'm just
Yeah,
like.
and sometimes you get interesting conversations.
Ah,
That's why I wanted to just.
let everybody know that we're live.
Okay, so. And remember, Matt said he was gonna be running maybe a little bit late.
Oh,
He was
okay.
gonna try and go to that,
Oh, yeah, the
animal.
political
well,
animals
yeah,
thing. I
yeah,
forgot
I
about
didn't
that.
remember
Okay.
So,
Oh, that was today, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I did not get I gotta talk to John 3. I did not get a notification of it. Whoops.
She's doing good. Yeah.
I see the temperature is, pretty normal in here today. I was about to go out of the house and I went, you know what? I may need a sweater this time.
I know. I tried to adjust it.
It feels good.
I tried to
I mean, there's no air moving here, which may or may not be a good thing, but at least it's not freezing us out.
Give me a signal or a look and I'll fix.
Okay, all right. Well, I wouldn't mind having some air moving, but,
Wait till Max gets here, we'll change it.
yeah.
and like I said, when, Jeff gets here, we'll need help to put the maps on
Yes.
the board.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I brought a map to put on the board, but then I had him run a map of 2 and 3
Gotcha.
for each of you
Okay.
to set at the table.
Okay.
And then you have markers and pens and
Oh,
can
okay.
do whatever we want to do with them.
Okay.
And then he can go back and make edits
All right.
needed, so.
That sounds good. Yeah,
I don't think it changes particularly.
did he have an opportunity to do one with you've got map 3, 2,
I've got map 3, 2, and 1, and then I have our original JP map.
uh-huh.
There's 2 on there. The first one, has a lot of detail on it.
Does this have a touch screen?
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
You'll have to use, there's a mouse right
Oh,
next to you.
okay, great.
And there's 2 maps of the Quorum Court districts, but the first one actually is the better one that
Okay,
you can zoom in on. So that way we can kind of see where we started,
gotcha.
and then the other maps will show us.
Okay, so you're actually doing these in Edge rather than in Adobe.
So these computers came loaded with nothing. So I was just crossing my fingers
gotcha.
that I would be able to put that they would read
Yeah.
the PDF. So, yeah, so.
Well, that's what, I was looking for, Adobe in here somewhere, but,
Yeah,
since it's just all on the
yeah,
browser, that's,
I've got, IT, I've asked them about getting Word and all of that for
oh,
me.
good,
So,
okay.
yeah, but like I said, this thought just came to me last night, that, hey, the commission might
Yeah.
actually like to look at the maps like this
Right,
versus, you know, trying to see on the little things.
yeah, okay.
We're a steady person.
Map 3, map 2 with precincts,
I
okay.
wager that number 1 won't go very far. Although I know it would be the most interesting.
And as long as the lady doesn't come for the provisional ballot, we can put all
Oh,
of
right,
that at the
right.
end.
Okay.
But if she comes, we'll need to.
Have you talked to her?
I have played phone tag with her,
Oh,
so yeah.
great. So we don't have any idea if she'll come or
I don't have any
not?
idea.
Okay.
I don't think she will, but I have, like, we have just missed one another.
Right, okay. Well, I would say that is maybe a good sign.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow through and make sure that we
Mhm.
actually got her registered to vote.
Right,
too, so there.
Yeah. There you go.
And then, okay, so map 1 and 2
Mhm.
that I originally posted online,
Oh,
she had sent me actually better versions of those late yesterday afternoon.
Okay.
So after we meet today, I will post those.
The better ones, okay.
Yeah, the ones that I posted online don't have very much detail.
Mhm.
And when she set the PDF, she set it as portrait, which it just,
Yeah, that's gonna make it a whole lot smaller.
Yeah, so the versions you have on the computer were the ones she sent me
Okay,
yesterday afternoon.
okay.
And then the other thing too, that I'll do, a running thing, because you have a
Mhm.
copy of yours.
Mhm.
I went ahead and put in the population for each of the maps,
Okay,
and then to show the differences between the highest and everyone else.
gotcha.
So, yeah,
Okay.
like over here. So if you look at Plan 1, that
Oh.
number, so the highest one is 17,014, then it shows you the difference in
Okay.
each of them. They're all within the
Right,
target, but it just kind of gives you an idea.
okay. Is there a reason why Bill Ussery's name is highlighted?
Yes, he is not eligible to run,
Oh.
that's my understanding, because he was
Okay.
appointed.
That's right.
Unless his district changes.
Does it have to change significantly, or if, like, he is moved out of
He
his
is
district?
moved out of his district,
Okay,
yes.
okay,
Yeah, unless the district he lives in changes.
Gotcha.
all right.
Okay.
So, because that question came up when we did this in 2011, because we had someone who was appointed,
Mm.
whether they could run
Yeah.
again or not. Okay, so that's a better explanation than I
Yeah, that
ever
helps a
got
lot.
the last time, so, yeah, so.
Okay. And he's the only one that's in that
He's
situation?
the only one appointed, right?
Okay.
I think so.
Mason County's got 3.
Yeah, they've got really.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because I sent in that, meeting with Fayetteville, the city of
Mhm,
Fayetteville.
right.
One of the things they talked about when they were setting their new wards was growth. You know, you don't have to look at it,
Yes.
but one of the things they talked about was making, because Ward 4 is on the Mount Comfort side,
Mhm.
and then Ward 1, they kind of figured that's kind of where the growth is gonna be.
Right.
To try and make those areas with the lowest population.
So that they can absorb more.
Yeah, so I thought that was kind of an interesting
Yeah.
thought about it too, so that could
Yeah.
be something we can ask Jeff as well.
I think it's
If-
worth
If that's
asking.
something that's possible to do, like, where do we think the growth will be in the county?
And there's got to
over
be a
the
way
next
that
10
that
years?
has been projected, using models of what has already
Mhm.
happened.
Mhm. So, yeah, so, I mean, obviously, we know Prairie Grove's growing like crazy,
Right.
Have been so far off.
Yeah.
so,
Well, and that, I thought that was curious too, given that, Robert Dennis's district lost so much. And I mean, isn't he right there at Prairie Grove?
he's Fayetteville,
He's got a Prairie Grove address,
But
but he's
he's-
not inside
he-
the city limits.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
he's kind of like at the bottom of like
Farmington.
Farmington, yeah.
Yeah, that's
where I
true.
was
Okay,
thinking.
okay.
So, what surprised me was how far out Willie Lemming lived.
He's out there.
I
He's
was
definitely out there.
like, I was like, oh, wow. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Probably wouldn't object to somebody saying that.
Hmm. He probably appreciates living out that far.
And it was interesting too to see how how many JPs actually kind of live close to one another, too.
Right, yeah. Now, I notice you've got some yellow lines on
So-
these. Those are the
Okay,
Census 2020 voting districts.
voting districts, that's gonna be
Okay.
where Becky has concerns.
Right,
So I didn't want to kind of like overwhelm us with maps,
Mhm.
but I did want to
Mhm.
include those. So all of those lines, whenever we're creating these, we are potentially splitting precincts.
yeah,
And so I wanted to kind of keep track of that as we go along,
Mhm.
because every precinct that we split between a JP district,
right,
that's gonna be a new precinct created. So
Okay.
that's gonna be, we have to go in and grab those people and put them in a new
Yeah.
precinct and make sure that all of that's correct. The only problem is that we have right now with us, we still don't have JP House or JP Senate lines.
right.
So if we go and we make a ton of precinct splits, and then we get our JP House and our JP Senate maps, and they create even more.
Even more, yeah.
So that's just something for us to just kind of be
Right.
aware of. I did confirm.
There he is,
How are you?
the political animal himself.
Yeah, I know. I hadn't gotten to see the Democratic candidates for governor, so.
Ah,
Anyway, sorry you guys, that's where I was, why I'm running late.
well, we are ready to begin then, since you're here.
Yeah, thank you.
Here we go.
Hey, here we go.
Everybody arrived at once, and we are calling this meeting to order. Have a seat.
Have a seat.
Yeah, I've got you sit right here next to me, Jeff, and we'll look at the maps on the board, and then I have maps for the commissioners.
Super.
And then, also, well, yeah, I'll have to divvy them out.
Oh, gotcha,
Um,
okay.
Max, I also have on the laptop in front of you all the PDFs of the
You did,
maps.
Jeff. Cool, okay.
So that as we go along, they're tabbed up at the top. We can zoom in and everything, so, and then find a home for your. Yeah, you might. And then that map is for you to mark on, whatever you got.
This one is?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah,
So we've
okay.
got, this is planned, yeah, okay, gotcha. You've got one of each one in what version?
I don't have one of one.
Okay, that's
I
fine.
have one of one. I have one of one, and we'll put it up on the board for you guys to look at. But I
Okay.
figured 2 and 3
But it is
are
on there.
more serious
Sure.
maps for us to look at.
Yeah, okay, good.
While she's doing that, have you had a chance to look at the minutes of the last two meetings?
Oh, I'm sorry, Brian.
Let me look.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah, they look fine.
Okay. All right, now we'll accept the minutes as presented and move on. We're going to put the provisional ballot hearing off till last.
Do we just have one? Yeah, that's what I thought.
And Jennifer has not been, they've been playing phone tag. So
Oh, really?
she's not sure if she'll be here.
Okay,
So there's no point in
no.
sitting around waiting and not being sure if this individual.
I know she
Well-
got the letter because she called, and that was one of the messages that she left me, so she
Oh, good.
starts at 1, so
Okay.
obviously
Okay.
beyond 1 o'clock.
Okay.
Yeah, well, if she shows up, we can stop and,
Yeah, it shouldn't take but a half a sec.
yeah.
And then, so the next item is the certification of October 12th, the Tinytown special election.
So there are 4 certificates that the attorney for the City of Tinytown created,
Okay.
for the commission to sign, and then this is the ballot report that we're
Oh,
required to do.
yeah.
As well.
Did you get the, got the updated one that
Yes.
Bernetta
Yes.
sent?
Another one? This is one, it needs to go on the back of this, the original one, it needs to go.
On the back of this one.
Yes. Those are my city limits for Fayetteville and Springdale, so if you needed to look at that, we have them.
You said there's 3 copies of
I
these?
think there's 4. The attorney likes 2, originals. I like to keep an original.
Oh,
I
yeah.
like Becky to have an
Okay.
original.
Okay.
Which one do you need right now? One?
You can start with, do the county one, the original county one, yeah.
This one's on the other side.
Yes.
Here.
Got it? No? This is one?
Oh, wait, here's this is,
It doesn't
we need
need
to sign this?
No, it
Okay.
just needs one signature,
Okay.
signature of who prepared it, but I'll
Okay.
share it with you.
Yeah. Okay, if we're finished with that, then we'll move on to the review of the JP District map. And, I'll leave that in your hands.
Well, I will, Jeff,
Go ahead.
okay, so basically, this is just the starting point, you know, this
Yeah.
is just a working session for us to look at maps, see the direction that the commission wants to go, questions the commission has. You know, this gives us, we've got a couple of maps to look at, kind of just to see, you know, what changes. The maps were created by Washington Regional, and so without really input from us. So, you know, they just created a couple of options for us to look at, and then any suggestions we have, critiques, changes, questions, we'll go back to Jeff and they'll produce more and more maps for us, so, yeah. So,
Yeah, we of course look at the existing,
Right.
districts and apply the 2020 population numbers to those
Mm.
existing districts to see where we stand, if redistricting is necessary. And, what courts have generally held is that, you know, any deviation among your district's population that exceeds 10%, not valid.
Right.
So you need to be under 10%.
Okay.
We did that, and, the deviation for the existing district ranges from a high out in District 10 to the west of 20,019, and District, I guess it's District 14, that's 13,800.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got a deviation there of 38%. Not quite as bad as the Bentonville School District where I was last night. Their deviation's 81% because of the disparities of where growth occurred.
Wow.
And that's the highest we've run into, but we haven't done anything with their quorum court districts yet, so I don't know how that's gonna work out.
Wow.
They had one that went from 14,000 to 32,000,
Ooh.
one JP district.
Hmm.
And their target's not a whole lot, you know, it's like 19,000.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so we took we made that determination that redistricting is necessary. Of course, redistricting, we've got to use the total population. You do not use voting age population. So we start with the existing zones and to see, that's typically what you start with, the core of what you've got,
Right.
and see what adjustments can be made from there. And that's what we did with Plan 1, was, one of my staff members that's working on the Washington County, districts and school zones and the such. She did not take into account everything that we always take into account in the end, and that is, you know, are they contiguous? Do they, you know, what about incumbents and that sort of thing? She had none of that information plugged in on the map about
Gotcha.
where incumbents are. That's not a requirement that incumbents stay in their district, but it is a valid consideration, and it's one we always take into account, particularly with cities, because they've got to
Right.
vote.
Right.
They've got to make the decision themselves under whether they're gonna, you know, where their zone line, where their ward lines are. But we always take that into consideration, and that was not done in 1. It was in 2 and 3.
Okay.
So, those are, and we've tried to, you know, last time, you know, after the 2000 census and after the 2010 census, of course, we tried to wait until, others get their
Right.
boundary lines drawn. We know that it's a lot more likely that, and I'm talking specifically about the State Board of Apportionment, it's a lot more likely that the commission can follow their lines
Yeah.
than
Then
them
vice
following
versa.
your lines. So,
Yeah.
unfortunately, because of the timing of everything, this time around, you know, we thought it was best to not wait on them.
Mhm.
They've been saying December, and we're expecting, I think they'll be out with maps by the 1st of November, or shortly thereafter.
Yeah.
But then they'll go to a 30-day review period before
Right.
they become final. So they won't be final by the time you may take action, but
Right.
at least you'll know where those lines are, and in all likelihood, when they come out with them, they're unlikely to change, I think, you know.
Yeah.
Once they come out with them, they will have already come to some agreement between the 3 members on the State Board of Apportionment.
Okay.
So, but this is, as Jennifer said, this is a starting point. You look at the existing map that we have, you'll see several instances where you'll see a green line, which was the Senate lines in 2010, and you'll see the red lines. Those were the House lines, and I think they're red,
Yeah.
in 2010.
Mhm.
What map are we
It's the
looking at?
very first map on your tab. It's the very first
Okay.
Washington County map. It says Washington County JP District, so that's your very first map.
Okay.
That's got the House and Senate lines on it. You can see where we tried to follow their lines if they were close. Unfortunately, you know, when they did their lines, they didn't take the opportunity for a House and Senate line to use the same line, and they
Oh.
could have.
Yeah.
And that created a situation where Washington County and many other counties had to set up precincts that might have had half a dozen people in them, in some cases, 0 people.
Yeah.
So that is the fear that we had
Mm-hmm.
this time around, that they're not doing that. And, you know, and I'll be surprised if they do. You know, we made that point at the apportionment hearing that they had up here, that they need to bear that in mind and, you know, don't look at doing the House one over here, and a week later doing this one, and
Sure.
don't see where they could use a common line.
Yeah.
I hope they do. I don't know, I don't have much hope that they will. But that would certainly help as far as your job later, as far as, you know, avoiding, setting new precincts up
Right.
and those kind of things. But, so we didn't have that when we did these maps. We also didn't, at least in the first one, we didn't look, very hard at where existing precincts are. I know Becky wants us to look real hard at that.
Becky, in your little packet of maps, if you see there's like a Plan 1 and then a Plan 2, the Plan 2 with the little yellow line show the precincts where we can split precincts. Max, you and Renee have those as well.
Yeah, okay.
Becky, I will send these emails, the PDFs to you so you can pull them up on your computer and kind of see them.
And those lines, by the way, the lines that you see, she's mentioned, those lines are based on the Census Bureau, what they call their VTDs, their voting districts.
Yeah.
And that's what we know, we call precincts. They call VTDs, and, that information was given to the Census Bureau by the state GIS office. And, I know there's a few instances where your precinct map and what they turn into the Census Bureau aren't exactly the same.
Huh?
So there's a few of those precincts that, you know, but there's only one correct precinct, and that's yours. So, so we'll have to identify those as we get farther down the road, see what was really split and what wasn't.
And
Those are strictly off the census maps.
And one of the things Jeff, and I talked about too, is possibly if those House and Senate maps come out within the next week or so, we may want to just scrap
Everything here,
all
yeah.
of this and then take in consideration those House and Senate lines
Right.
to kind of draw our JP lines, just like we did previously,
Sure.
so that we don't create all these tiny precincts,
Yeah.
because we've got a set of lines, they have a set of
Right.
lines,
Yeah.
and everything. So just keep that in mind too, that,
Yeah.
you know, we have really, and I've kind of talked with Becky about this comfortably until the middle of December, wouldn't you think, for us to have our map final? So we're not like in a rush to make a decision today or next week.
Right.
So, you know, to kind of thoroughly look at everything.
Yeah, so working backwards, the timeline, what is our deadline, drop dead deadline?
January the 3rd or 2nd.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
It's not that we want to push up against that, but just thinking and, you know, backtracking.
That December the 15th deadline
Okay.
gives us, after the publication in the map, starts the clock on the 30-day objection that can be filed in the circuit clerk, or the circuit court, which means then that our maps will be through that whole process by kind of like the 1st of February, almost a month before filing starts, to make sure that Becky has the time she needs to get the precincts done. So that's kind of why I set that December 15th one deadline for us. So.
Ideally sooner, I mean,
Yeah.
depending, you know,
Yeah.
sooner is definitely better. We don't have any indication when those House and Senate maps are coming out, other than just the public info.
Nothing official. I got it. I understood they were gonna try to do it by, you know, by the 1st of November. That they would- They may have a meeting next week. I don't know, for sure.
Okay.
They probably don't want to be nailed down to anything.
Yeah. I get it. A lot of folks are in our position though, too, around the
Yeah,
state.
right.
As I understand it, you know, you've got the staff at the AG's office working on a plan for House and Senate each, and they're kind of doing them individually, which, that's what I say, I don't have a whole lot of hope for them using common boundaries.
Yeah.
And Secretary of State's staff is doing the same thing. They're developing a couple different plans.
Oh,
The governor's
independently.
office is developing a couple plans.
Huh.
Then the staffs are getting together, and they're ironing out the differences. And at one point, I understood that they were close on a Senate map, but not the House map, which further indicates that, gee, you know, you're looking at these together?
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe not. So, sounded like they're gonna try to, staff-wise, to come up with an agreed-upon recommendation for the Senate, and then the House, and then the board will meet, and the board will take action, you know, on the recommended plan. That's a collective recommendation from the staffs. And then they'll approve, I think, a plan and then they'll send it to a 30-day comment period.
Yeah,
And
okay.
it won't be final until that 30 days runs, is
Okay.
what the plan is.
Got it, okay, that's all helpful. Just for the folks watching at home and my own edification, it's better if we can draw the lines to sync up, whether it's a House, Senate, JP, precinct, city boundary line, because it reduces complexity in the number of ballot faces when we're running elections, and with
Right.
reduced
And
complexity.
it simplifies it for the people, too.
Sure, knowing who their representatives are at different levels of government, and, yeah, okay, good deal.
And not the least of which is the, if they don't do what you said, it creates a tremendous
A
amount of work in the
nightmare.
clerk's office.
Yep,
Yeah.
Tens
yep,
of thousands of notifications and
yep,
precinct assignments, and
mhm,
and that's what I told the State Board of Apportionment meeting. I said, everybody needs to bear in mind the effect of those boundaries. Whoever's making lines, whether it's a city council or a school board or the State Board of Apportionment,
mhm.
everybody needs to bear in mind the effect of their boundaries and so if they're sensitive to that, that's all you can ask, really.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, that's,
We have them for 10 years, whether we like it or not.
That's exactly right.
and these are a few of, Jeff, these are a few of kind of the, so you've labeled it redistricting criteria and goals.
Yeah.
This is derived from case law, and these are, and statute, I guess, but, these are just kind of the general principles we need to keep in mind.
Yes, sir, those, I think what you're looking at is the,
I pulled it off of, you've given it to me before, but this
Yeah.
comes straight from the state's website, the
Okay.
Okay.
appropriations, yeah.
Perfect, okay.
Pulled it straight off of their website to give us our criteria and our goals. It's posted on our website as well.
Oh, good.
So that if anyone wanted to look, they can see exactly,
What the
that is.
considerations that we're
Exactly.
using are.
Yes.
yeah, what we originally handed out, and I think I handed out previously was,
Did you guys get?
criteria, redistricting criteria recognized by the courts.
Yeah, okay.
Oh,
It's a summary of about 10 different things,
Yeah, it's
same thing.
it's this one,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's
the
just
back.
it's the background, yeah, the first one is the.
And none to the exclusion of the others. All-
Right, it's
All
not-
taken in a
Mhm.
Overall.
view.
I mean, besides those things, what sort of general advice do you have for us when considering this? Because I don't do this every year, this is a 10-year process. You've been doing this for decades, Jeff, so what else, should we think about and consider when looking at these different maps before we start talking about them?
Well, those criteria that you mentioned, and you're correct, there's no equal weighting of these things. They're
Right.
all relevant factors,
Yeah.
and different people considering this may weight them a little differently,
Yeah.
Last night, I've never run into this before, but with the Bentonville School Board, they thought that it was important that they have a school in each of their redistricted zones.
Huh?
I've never run into that before, so that sent us back to the drawing board.
Yeah, gotcha.
It wasn't ready for final action anyway. They're not gonna act until next November, I think. They're
Oh.
Oh, 'cause they're not, yeah, got it, okay.
instead of May. But, yeah, those factors, they're all relevant, but they're not equal. I'd come down on, trying to follow, natural major features,
Mhm.
major streets, try to follow, election districts, try not to split election districts, if you can avoid it, and that sort of thing. We don't run, into some of the voting rights issues that you would in central Arkansas.
Yeah, okay.
Southeast Arkansas.
Yeah.
And the minority population, we've got all that information for the school districts. They have to provide that in the plans, that they're doing. And by the way, that applies to all 15 school districts in the two-county area now. Used to.
Every one of
Used to
them
there
has
was a
to
few.
vote by ward now?
Yes.
Yeah.
In 2010, 9 of the 15 had to do it. Now, the other 6 have to do it. So everybody's doing it, so I'm afraid that's gonna create new precincts.
Even
Yeah.
more.
That you didn't have before.
Yeah, it will. And then we also have 2 other things to take in consideration too, for Becky's office. So Fayetteville School District has decided to hold their elections in November of 2022.
Oh, they have.
Yes, which means that technically their maps won't be due to us until May 12th or May 13th. So those,
Ooh.
yes, we've requested that they submit them as quickly as they have their maps. And they understand, exactly why we're requesting them early. But by law, they have until May to turn those maps into it. And then the second thing we're running into, Becky Gross is over there. So there is a vacancy that has been declared in the city of Fayetteville, Ward 2.
Oh.
And the Fayetteville City Council is meeting November the 2nd to decide whether they will hold a special election or if they will fill that vacancy. That vacancy is up for election in 2024, so newly elected. And so if they decide to hold an election, they will not be able to complete their ward maps because they have to redo their ward maps until after that election, because the current ward, people who live in that current ward, we can't redistrict them out of it because they have to be eligible to vote in this special election held in February.
Wait, so
Wow.
Yeah.
why can't we just redraw the maps looking forward in the interim, and they can have the special election in the interim based on their current map?
So they can hold them,
It just depends on where the person is who
well,
lives there? Is that the
that,
question?
and one of the things, we had a meeting with the Fayetteville City, on Wednesday about the maps. They can go ahead and approve their ward map and hold it to not be effective until after the election, which means that's fine, they've already got that done. Becky has the issue, and I'll let you explain how.
We just can't move them. We can't put them in a new district because their vote history, their poll books are pulled, their information is pulled out of our VR system, so we can't change them in our VR system until after the election is over.
Wow.
So we could do it, in theory, they could approve the maps, and they could make the change, but it's just not gonna be effective in the system until afterwards. Is that it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it holds her back from being able for us to be able to finish with the precincting process for Fayetteville because of that special election.
May 24th.
Yeah. And,
You can't just, I don't know the technical components of how you do it, but you can't build 2
No, there's only one VR
systems.
system.
yeah, I was hoping there would be a shadow system that you
Sure.
could use.
Like another file that,
Exactly,
Which is probably a bad idea in the long run.
exactly.
but if you kept, if it was a temporary thing,
Yeah,
you just
yeah, but
it. I don't know the technical.
it's
end, but-
probably better that we don't have it because it could really screw things up, I think.
So you just can't finish the process until,
For the
May.
Fayetteville.
And then, is there gonna be a runoff?
Yeah.
Oh,
So see, their runoff would be then 4 weeks afterwards.
yeah.
It's causing a big,
Yeah.
friction to.
4 weeks?
but it might not happen if they don't
If they decide to appoint
have a special
someone,
election.
That
if
would
they
help.
decide to appoint someone, we just proceed. Or if one person files,
Uh-huh.
we're all good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that will be something we know November the 2nd on exactly
Okay.
what will be coming down
Okay.
the line for us there.
Yeah.
And that also brings into, one of the things too that I've noticed in especially Plan 2 and Plan 3, our previous older maps, our original map, took into consideration the city boundaries
Uh-huh.
along District 6, District 9, and District 12.
Okay.
Okay, so, because I like nice clean lines, and Jeff likes nice clean lines, and clean lines look nice on the map, because if you look on Plan 2, if you see like in D12, how it has like the little just jut out there. Okay, that's because of the city of Fayetteville's boundaries.
Oh, okay, got it.
But we have taken out, if you go on up, like in 9 and 6 for Fayetteville and Springdale city limits, we've actually straightened, or we've created a straight line, but the city limits aren't a straight line.
That's not the city boundary.
Exactly.
Is Plan 2, does that mirror the city boundaries more than 3, or what is the?
Neither one of
them do.
So.
And some county clerks are just adamant that you don't follow city limit lines in areas where you've got growth, where a city may annex. You know that city limit line's gonna be a precinct line. And if you run a JP line up that, and then the city grows on past it, you're gonna have to create another precinct. Whereas if the JP line was on out here, past the city limits, when they annexed out here, that new annexed area could just be incorporated into an existing precinct. So you wouldn't have to set a new precinct there.
Right.
So it's a question of growth, but also of annexation and whether the city's gonna do it.
And it also gives a little bit more, it also gives a little bit more rural, and that might be of interest to some people, you know, can you do the districts and have a better split between rural and urban? Or do you pack it all, you know, and follow city limit lines? But the main thing to me is, you know, if you follow the city limit line with the JP line, and then you annex past it, then it's gonna absolutely be a separate precinct. Or whatever that annexed area is.
How often do the cities of Fayetteville and Springdale annex land?
So, Fayetteville.
They're unpredictable.
They are unpredictable. Fayetteville actually commented because we asked, and they don't aggressively annex land. But, you know, like some up in
Benton County, that issue I've kept up, read
you know,
about
like
in the paper.
As soon as, you know, it's surrounded on 3 signs, they just go ahead and annex it in. Fayetteville is slower to do that than other cities. Springdale, have they annexed it?
Other than
They do it
Bevel
they do
Heights?
it several by ordinance, it seems like, but sometimes they just forget to send them to us for a while, and they're like, oh, we forgot to send this to you.
Oh, no.
So,
Springdale's probably done 12 or 15.
It seems like we get more for like
okay.
West Fork and places like that.
Prairie Grove and Farmington, and so that is a consideration, like in the maps, in 2 and 3, in 3, what, one of the distinctions is, in D12, we went ahead and just kind of made that line straight, took out that little jut out, but we're not following city limit lines. So we need, you know, like, those are the kind of things that, you know, the commission will need to let Jeff know. Do we want to follow city limit lines, if we're able to, or do we want to follow these major roads, kind of like what Jeff has presented here? So.
Hard, good questions. I mean, logically, I would have thought, in theory, you want to follow city limit lines more, just logically, but I understand. I see your point.
I guess the way I look at it is, I don't want that to necessarily be a hard and fast rule. What Jennifer and I were talking about a map that would incorporate and distribute rural and city in a better mix, instead of this is strictly city, this is almost all, where Jim lives out, I feel like in Washington County, the bottom half of the map is all rural, except for, you know, you got Winslow, West Fork, et cetera, small burgs, and I have a sense that the in-town districts, and I'm one of those people who lives out in the rural area, they just kind of ignore the people in the rural areas. I want all the JPs to have more of a stake in both rural and city, if we can figure out a map that is able to distribute that in a way that makes sense and follows the guidelines for the most part. And, you know, just, I guess the way I look at, as I told Jennifer, something fresh, something that maybe we haven't looked at it that way, but let's give it a try.
That's funny, because I think I see it the opposite way. It's funny, it's good we're talking about it.
Really?
We've never seen these maps before, we've never talked about them. Well, I thought one of the, like, guiding principles was to keep communities of interest together.
Right.
I guess I think if I've got 10 acres out in the country, you know, maybe I have, it depends on the issue. I'm not going to say that communities of interest are different, but to me, if I'm living in more of an urban area, probably that's more of a community of interest than if I'm living out in the country. And I guess I would think if you would add some more rural areas to more urban districts, the bulk of those voters are still going to be in the urban district.
True.
And the folks out in the rural area maybe are just not going to even have as much of a voice as if they had somebody who had more of just a rural area and represented all those folks. I'm not an elected official, and so I guess I can't speak for anybody, but anyway, that was my take on it.
Yeah.
So,
I guess the way I look at it, when you're talking communities of interest, certainly there are things like that enter in, but all of us as Washington County citizens have an equal stake in how the business of the county is done, and therefore that makes that community of interest pretty representative for every, I mean, obviously some are not going to take that interest, but many will, simply because we are all in the same county. So I do get what you're saying, though. I hadn't really, I mean, because I guess I have a different point of view.
yeah, sure. Yeah, sure.
I've just sort of shared that we're all part of this county, and therefore we should all be able to, you know, have, we're never going to have equal say, but a nicely distributed rural versus city kind of cohesion is what I was thinking about.
So what is I guess to help me kind of see what's going on here, you've got three plans in front of us here.
Yeah.
Plan 1, Plan 2, and Plan 3. What should we...
can't make decisions on any of these at this point without, I mean, we want Jim's input too.
Sure, and he hasn't...
But we also
seen any
need...
of these.
I've emailed them to him, but
Good,
he's probably just been able to look at them on his phone,
Yeah.
wherever
Oh,
he's
yeah.
on a computer, but
Yeah,
Well, and we have some time also.
true.
I mean, just to get it out there, Plan 1 puts multiple JPs in the same districts, right? I think it does.
yeah, Plan 1 is
Isn't
the
that
one
it?
that does that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you can kind of eliminate, like, if you wanted to, eliminate a plan, or you can look at a plan and say, I like this part of it, and I like this part of this other plan, and then we, you know, can start to kind of come together, you know, form different ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess what are the differences between them? Because I see the plans, I see the maps, but what should...
Be great if we could have overlays of all of them.
Yeah.
Kind of play with them that way.
Yeah, that's, I think, what
So
I'm
the thing I noticed,
struggling with.
and Jeff, the thing I noticed between Plan 2 and Plan 3,
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
so in Plan 2, if you notice, DC 6, District 6, and District 9,
Uh-huh.
how it is kind of not an even line. If you see, it's kind of like, D9 goes up into a little bit
Right.
of D6, and D6 comes down, you know,
Yeah.
you see what I'm saying?
Yep.
Yeah.
And then if you go down to D12,
Mm-hmm.
it has that little bit of a jut out that
Mhm.
follows the Fayetteville City District line. So it kind of looks like you just like reached out there and grabbed
Mhm.
just like a little bit.
And
of
but
that.
that is left over from 2011, correct?
It is based on the city limits. So those are kind of some of the things I see in that map versus Plan 3.
Mhm.
If you look at Plan 3, the difference, let me get my map big here. D6 and D9 then would have a more straight line
Uniform. Mhm.
on it. D12 no longer has that
Right.
strange little jut out. D14 becomes more narrow compared to Plan 2.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
D15 at the bottom gains a little bit of land mass.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then D13, it changes just a little bit. I felt like it lost just a little bit of land mass,
Oh.
not a whole lot. But those were kind of the things that, like, when I looked at the map,
Uh-huh.
jumped out at me
Yeah.
as differences in the map.
Yeah, 15 lost to, 6, 9, and 12 basically.
Mhm.
And then had to pick up from, 14. And 14 went up a little farther.
Oh, yeah.
So Plan 2 looks like it follows current boundaries more so, maybe even Plan 1, current district boundaries. And then 3 changes them a little. Maybe it doesn't, maybe it depends on the district.
It depends on the district. Now, if you notice, even on Plan 2 and Plan 3,
Mm-hmm.
where 6 and 9
Yeah.
still don't follow the city limits. So that's
Yeah.
the same, that their outside boundary on D6 and D9 follow Butterfield Road that
Okay.
turns into Oakland Zion on both
Yeah.
plans,
Yeah.
on D.
Which is a natural dividing
Right,
line.
but not the city limits.
Right.
So,
Right.
so if you zoom in on, I'm on Plan 2.
Okay.
If you zoom in on Plan 2, and you look at 6 and 9, that is pretty much the outside boundary between 6 and 5 and 9 and 15. That pretty much kind of stays similar.
Mhm.
It still doesn't follow the city limits, so you can't say that it's the same as what currently had.
Right.
And then D12 also, in Plan 2, D12 also changes a little bit, too, doesn't D12 kind of has a little, to the left has kind of like a little, it kind of goes down a little bit more.
Oh, that one at the bottom, yeah.
Right, where
Yeah.
in Plan 2, it was a little bit more, compact.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just looking at some of these for the first time, but like on 12.
Which map?
Like map on District 12, it looks like map 2, it runs along the west fork of the White River there, is the boundary.
Oh.
And 3, it splits it up. I don't know that to me, it makes sense to keep South Fayetteville together in one district, one map. I'm not sure it makes, that's the communities of interest thing, I think
Yeah.
I'm thinking, you know? To me, it makes sense to keep that area, that section of one town together in the same district.
And in Plan 2, let's see, so District 12 is also our district with the most population in it, on all three maps.
Oh, okay.
On all three maps, District 12 has the most population in it. And if you notice, Max, I did a little spreadsheet that shows you the population in each of the plans, and then I've done out the difference between the populations. They're all within the variance, so that's not the issue. But if that was concern to you on like, well, some of them, you know, have a difference of 105, 78, you know, that's also something to look at as well.
Got it.
The way, excuse me, you know, where we've drawn some of these lines, you know, and some of them may look odd, but they're following census block lines.
Oh, yeah.
And,
all the lines are on all the maps?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. We have, and that's how the information comes in, and there's a tool where you grab the block and assign it to a particular zone, and it'll recalculate the running total population, and, that's what mainly the difference between 2 and 3 are. We're trying to look at some odd lines and see if there's some other boundaries that could be followed.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And, but, you know, Washington County is not as bad as Benton County. You know, like Bella Vista, they've got huge, crazy blocks, because a block line is gonna follow streets or natural feature, or both.
Yeah.
And they've got huge blocks with cul-de-sacs, and
Oh, I can see that, yeah.
So you got a huge block that might have 600 or 700 people in it. And then inside that huge thing, because it's not bounded by anything.
Yeah, okay.
And in the middle of it, you might have 2 or 3 islands with 40 or 50 people in them. You can't grab those islands unless you grab the other 500 or 600 in the big block. So a lot of that turns on where the Census Bureau has the block line.
Okay.
It's hard to explain, but it's something we've got to work with or try to work around and you know, do the best you can with it.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So that's, essentially, that's the first feature that you've got to have on your map is the census line.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when you look at 2 and 3, plans at 2 and 3, really on the left side of the map, pretty much nothing has changed other than 14 kind of just got a little bit more narrow. But really it's 6, 9, and 12 kind of are the areas where there's a significant difference between the 2 maps.
Oh.
In the land area in.
Yeah. In
12,
15, yeah. So.
As you've discussed, it's interesting, you know, we talked about the criteria and not assigning them all equal values, and some are more important to some than others, and you know, you got a different perspective on, you know, the commonality. You know, the Census Bureau, you know, and the courts are big on compact districts, you know, and I understand the representation. That's a valid issue as well. But when you look at it, it'd be a very difficult thing to do, and we'll do our best to try to work with that idea. But you know, I don't want to say it's impossible, but when you look at where the population center of the county is, it may be up here, and the geographic center may be down here.
Right.
And it's going to be hard to slice that pie, and you know, and as far as the effect of that on incumbents, that'll be an eye opener as well.
Yeah. What should we consider regarding the Latinx population in Springdale? How is that population currently represented on these maps?
I don't have that breakdown. Did she send?
She did, oh, shoot. I can run and go, I only have it for 1 and 2.
We can get that information for all of them,
I don't think I have it for 3.
you know, and I'm not sure how the voting runs in the current districts out that way.
Yeah.
But the concentration of populations over here, I think there's probably a couple of them that may be a minority majority district.
A couple of, what?
Yeah.
Of the Springdale districts.
Oh, yeah, these districts on here?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Did you take that into account when drawing these maps, or not?
I would say not at this point.
Yeah, okay.
She did go back and we talked about, you know, well, what about that, you know, and
Mhm.
our principal charge in, you know, in redistricting is equalizing the population.
Right.
And we don't go in with the notion that, you know, we're gonna draw for some special, you know, race or, you know, whatever.
Sure, and I guess the
You're
reason
not supposed to do that. but-
Sure, the reason I'm asking the question and whether it was considered partly, you've mentioned the Voting Rights Act and
Yes, sir.
litigation in central Arkansas and more southeast
Yeah.
Arkansas, and so that's the impetus for my question,
Yeah.
kinda.
And that applies for school districts, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's what triggers the school districts to have to go to zones,
Yeah, that's
but it doesn't apply for this task, but unless, you know.
But in looking at we looked at Springdale and we looked at Fayetteville school districts, both. And if you look at the distribution of the population, you know, there's fairly equal distribution across Fayetteville, for example.
Mm.
In Springdale, there's concentrations on the east side. And you know, that question come up, you know, Fayetteville's got by ward elections, Springdale doesn't.
Yeah.
So, you know, usually in a voting rights issue, it's the whole question, you know, when they come up. And I've been involved in several of those with John Walker lawsuits before, and that's why they did that school law.
Yeah, that statute, yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah,
okay.
that's why they did that, because of old John Walker's lawsuits. And it's headed them off. It stopped those. But the question of the voting rights issue is always, you know, we have a concentration of minorities in this area, and we don't have a possibility of electing in proportion to our population.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of assumptions made in that. Oh, we've got polarized voting and several other, and there's a concentration, and they could be a majority. And the whole theory in the school law is that if you're 10% minority population, you gotta go to zones. And that stops the voting rights issue. And as I tried to explain it last night, they come up with 10% because, let's say you had 100,000 in your school district, and you're gonna have 5 zones. If you did it perfectly, you're gonna have 20,000, everyone's gonna be 20,000. Well, if you had 10% minority population, and all 10,000 of them lived in the one corner, there is a legitimate argument to be made that if we all voted the same, and if we all lived in the same zone, we would have a reasonable opportunity to elect in proportion to our makeup of the population.
Yeah.
And that's always a question in those things. So, you know, but that's not the case as far as the distribution, for the most part, in Washington County, except for
Right.
there's Springdale.
Right.
Now, that particular, you know, issue, I mean, that's something that the city would have to address. But fact is, you know, a minority got elected to Springdale City Council on a citywide vote. So can that argument be made that it's all polarized and there's not a reasonable opportunity to get elected?
Right.
And that's something a court would have to decide, but when they look at your voter record, they say, no, that argument doesn't hold water because this person got elected in the county in a citywide vote.
Yeah.
So, anyway, that's, I don't mean to carry.
Yeah, no, that's all helpful. It's all good info. Appreciate the info and the background and, yeah, all of this is helpful, Jeff. We appreciate you drawing these maps and being here and,
Well, we're more than, willing to work on other alternatives and.
I'd like to
there's
see
other
just
considerations.
slap some up there that, would give us a view of other alternatives.
Okay.
Some things that maybe, thinking out of the box is gonna give us, at this point, I appreciate these maps, but I'm always thinking there's gotta be something else that we haven't thought of that would, be even better than what we have here.
And one of the things, based on, like, the conversation I had with you about, about that, and talked to Jeff about it, a density map.
Yes,
Might be helpful for the commission to just have a density map without lines on it, just so that you're aware of where the population is without looking at it and seeing JP districts.
right.
sure.
But you're just straight looking at, this is where the population's
Sure.
at.
And also with that, if there's some way to project the growth. I know, but if there, because that may be something that we want to do for, some of these places, is allow that possibility of growth without it, becoming overwhelming for another 10 years.
What is your ideal map look like, Becky?
I'm
Like
looking
what?
number 2 a lot.
Are you looking at the precinct changes?
Yes.
Yeah, like
That's
what?
I figured.
I like this one that has the precincts, contained. When I look at 3, there's several precincts that are split, in several places.
And you can just tell that looking at this map, or is it the yellow?
It's
You're
the one
looking
with
at
the yellow line.
Yeah, I got it. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, I see.
And it's so late that it's gonna be, hard to get this stuff done. You're like, street files change and everything like that, so.
There were, maybe this is unrelated, but I'm just asking a question. We've had a few issues over the years where a voter
Yeah.
we've had a few meetings where someone
Yes.
didn't receive a ballot that they thought they were supposed to receive. And based on our files, they weren't supposed to receive it, but then we went back to the maps and it turned out they were supposed to receive it.
Yeah.
Is that an issue is that what you're talking about? Like something that you may run up against? Like you're gonna have to move people based on this map, whatever map we choose, into a district?
Yes.
Is that something we
It's
should consider or could consider?
It's like, okay, so if I take this precinct and split it up, I've gotta take my streets, that are all in this precinct and figure out which ones are going to this precinct, so it's gonna be moving streets from one to another, making sure they are associated with the right everything, the legislative district, the senate district, the JP district, the city board, the school zone. So it's just a more work the more you move.
Yeah, got it. And you're gonna have to have that done by.
Well, we can't do Fayetteville.
Right.
You could do the rest of it.
We're gonna pretty much
You're gonna
have
have
to do
to.
this, yeah.
You've got to do this all by when?
Filing period?
That would be because
Yeah,
what's gonna happen when filing starts is the candidates are gonna come to Becky's office and say,
Where
I
at?
have a list of voters
Well, of
in
course.
in
And
my
I can't get
district.
it in Fayetteville until after it's done.
And he's gonna be
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, okay.
Farming.
So that's so if we don't move a line,
I mean, if you
You're
don't create a lot of extra precincts, it's just gonna save us,
Right.
it's
A
gonna
lot of
save you a
time
lot
and
of
effort,
work
yes.
on the back end.
yes.
Would it reduce potential errors?
Yeah, because the stuff's already there, we know where it's at right now.
Is that how that's happened before, when we,
Yeah, like,
those issues,
there
or
was
people have the wrong?
a state senate district that
State-
has been, precinct that was in the wrong state senate district, that has been in their wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember
And-
that happening. We
and
had a
it
few
was,
meetings about that. We had that happen 2 or 3 precincts.
It was like, yeah, Jim, and it was in.
Yeah, we had it.
Jim Hendren, and nobody ever ran against him.
Nobody, he
Oh,
always
that's
ran.
No, one
right,
was Greg
yeah.
Lang, too.
Well,
Yeah.
it was
There
great.
was one for us, yeah.
Yeah, but the candidate had always run unopposed.
Yeah.
So
Nobody ever knows.
Yeah, that's what it was, until,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
So I guess I'm thinking, the ideal here, but I also want to think practicality on the back end.
right.
What your job is and how we can reduce, errors moving forward
And
with
now
the
that we
election
have one
process.
map too, that will help some, but I don't know how long it's gonna take when we get all our shape files and things to get to them, and then it looks into our voter registration program, so it can tell us if something's in the wrong spot. But I think it updates with our prior profiles once a month, so I don't know how far behind it's gonna be, getting the new shape files into Data Scout.
And the state uses the geocoding, and they provide you that information. And the geocoding, we found 4 or 5 errors just,
Oh, dear.
which, that wasn't the cause of the county, that was the cause of whoever did the geocoding at the state. And there was one last night, the right address was on there.
Oh, you already-
Geocoding put it in the wrong place in Bentonville School.
Oh,
One of the board
interesting.
members, in fact. Oh, that's the right address, but it's really down here.
Oh, interesting. You found that just looking at it back
Yeah.
again already? Yeah, okay.
Okay, well, now I've got a question, and so I'm gonna plead ignorance here, but I'm looking at Plan 3, and the voting district lines, the Census 2020 voting district lines. Explain to me, if you can, like, for instance, over on the, right side of the map, middle part, where you've got what look like some overlapping type of lines.
Oakens H.
Pardon me?
Which
Oakens H, I think.
district is it in?
It would be District 15, right in the middle of the map. What are what's that all about? I mean, it's just one place where they've done that, but I'm a little puzzled by it.
You're looking
Well,
at the precincts?
That is one of those, you're out there in Elkins, I think. And
Okay.
one's following the river and one's following the city limits.
Oh, okay.
For the
That's-
precincts? Is that what you're talking about there, the yellow line? Yeah.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
mixed
yeah.
mash of-
Yeah.
that's where you've got an odd western city limit line, and
Yeah.
then there you got a House and Senate line that comes.
But we have to follow those because those are the 2020 voting district lines that have already been defined, correct? No.
No,
No,
those are just the
those-
precincts, right?
What you're seeing in yellow there is what the state told the Census Bureau were the voting district lines. Now,
Okay.
most of them are correct, and yes, there's a mess over there
Yeah.
along the Elkins
Yeah.
thing. And the reason is because the state didn't pay attention to, one of them followed the river and the other one followed the city limit line, and,
That's why we have.
they didn't take that opportunity to follow common lines.
Right,
We
right.
have actually an Elkins H, and do we have Elkins S?
No, Richland H and
Oh,
Richland.
Richland.
Oh, yeah.
So like in our programming,
Okay.
there's like a regular Elkins, and then there's an Elkins H, because it is in a different house district
Mhm.
than the whole rest of the city of Elkins.
Okay, so we have to stick to those, right?
Okay, so we're hoping secretly those are
Cleaned up.
secretly.
Oh,
We're
really?
saying it loudly, that those are cleaned up.
Okay.
And they put all of Elkins back in the same house district, and they put all of Tinytown back
Okay,
together, and they put
okay.
all of West Fork back together.
Mm-hmm.
Those would be good cleanups for precinct lines. Those would be great.
So
We
then,
can clean those up.
Yes,
If-
if there's JP
Unless
House
they're
maps,
somehow following those old weird lines, but that doesn't seem,
yeah.
I mean, I guess I don't know,
When
but,
that one was done 10 years ago, the JP lines, didn't create that problem.
oh,
The city limits and the state where they
Yeah.
drew their line.
Okay.
That is not a problem that was created by the county.
But
So all you can do is try to avoid that when you do your own.
we could exacerbate, if we wanted to, if we're trying to, or just, we could exacerbate that problem though, right? I mean, if they drew them like that, and then we decided to just draw precinct lines, make a bunch of precincts, I mean, we could do whatever we wanted in theory, precinct-wise, right? But we don't want to. We want to try to follow the lines,
Right.
make it easy.
I think you're gonna be stuck with their lines, or anything you can do about their lines. And if
On the
they-
house line.
if-
The precinct lines is what Matt's
I'm
saying.
talking about the
We could
precinct,
go
yeah.
in and we could create our own little precinct within the precinct if we wanted to.
And we may have to for some things,
Right.
but
Well, and that's why I was saying,
ideally not.
if for some reason we get House and Senate maps soon,
Yeah, sure.
then it would show us, like, especially in these outer areas where we have our lines, that we can follow a House line or a House Senate line for our JP line
Yeah.
as well. And also, too, we're gonna get, 2 state House reps
yeah.
possibly?
Yeah.
And maybe 1 new state Senate. So these lines in here, we don't know what they're gonna look like.
Okay, so, but these yellow lines, even though they are considered the 2020 voting district lines, they're not poured in concrete at this point.
No.
Okay.
They're gonna stay that way unless all these boundary lines
Mhm.
bisect.
Okay.
Any one of these boundary lines bisect that precinct, it'll change.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
Renee, if you look on map 3, if you look at 9,
The one with the yellow lines?
the one with the yellow line,
Okay.
and you see where 9 is and then 15 is, so you see the brown, or the kind of whatever orangey color and the gray,
Mm-hmm.
that is gonna create a new precinct, because that, you've got the brown and the gray within an existing precinct.
Right.
So automatically, that creates a new precinct, because
yeah.
that precinct, part of it's gonna be in JP District 9, part of it's gonna be in JP District 15. That's what
Gotcha.
Becky's talking about.
Yeah.
That's why she prefers map 2, because there's fewer
Right,
of
right.
those kind of instances in the map.
But I gotta tell you, I really do like the fact that you don't have that little jut out on 3, where you do have it on 2. I mean, there are actually, if you look at 2, there's 2 jut outs in that particular, area. The one at the, Huntsville Road, and then the one that is up farther. And, I mean, to me, those just seem very inappropriate.
In District what now?
12 and 15 on map 2.
Yeah, that tail sticking out there on Huntsville Road.
Yeah.
Oh, that little
And the
section.
The reason for that is because when she grabbed that block,
Oh,
that
yeah.
block boundary
Uh-huh.
goes clear down there,
Yeah.
and if you don't include that block, you're gonna be eliminating a whole bunch of population back farther to the west.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just
Oh,
because of the block line.
I see,
It grabs the whole thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, we could, kick these around all day and all night, probably.
Yeah, I guess the question is, what do we want to take from, what do we want to accomplish today, if anything? What do we want to take away from this, other than everything we've already taken away? And then also, how long do we want to wait for the House and the Senate maps to see when those come out? I guess my goal is to try to make, with all of this, reduce the possibility of errors and make everybody's job, our job and your job on the back end, as easy as possible in terms of drawing lines, right? And confusion for the voters. I mean,
Right.
the more changes that there are for a voter, there's a lot of different levels of government, you know, especially for a lot of voters, from
Yeah.
school district to, you know, state rep to JP district. So I guess to me, whatever's the least confusing to the voters, the easiest for us, and has the least potential for errors. So if we can draw that JP line somewhat along House and Senate lines,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
I agree,
To reduce the number of precincts?
yeah. I think, we've got maybe 10 days before you think the, state maps will be out.
That's what I thought.
If we can sort of, you know, hold in a position of no decisions until we hopefully have those.
Sure.
But in the meantime, maybe draw some other maps that can give us a preliminary picture of some different options. And then, I mean, I feel like the real work will come together quickly if we can get those the House and Senate lines.
Yeah, I agree, and not that we have to follow those, we don't everywhere, but
No,
you'd just like to see if
Some
there's a street
consistency.
over, you could
Yeah.
go somewhere.
Yeah,
Like, it seems like that would make
Mhm.
sense.
Well,
Um,
and it would also create less work for Becky, because
Yeah,
if we
I-
are able to follow those instead of just creating
Mhm.
our own lines
Yep.
and then laying all three maps over, she's gonna have a lot of
Yeah,
potential
Yeah.
precincts,
right.
new precincts.
Yeah, I agree, based on our experience, having found some, literally years later, you know,
Yeah.
7 or 8 years
Yeah.
later,
Yeah.
after the redistricting was done,
That's what's amazing.
finding that these
Yeah.
precincts voters were in the wrong district.
Mhm.
If we can avoid that, I want to avoid that.
Yeah.
Becky, is it easy for you, so if a whole precinct moves into a JP district, is that an easy move for you, because you can just move the whole precinct versus the split?
Streets, yes, the
So,
Oh, yeah.
so it's not necessarily moving precincts, so like, when you guys are drawing the maps, if the whole precinct can go, that's a
Right.
better option
than splitting it.
than splitting it.
That's smart. Yeah, that makes good sense
So
to
that's
me.
what I was wondering, if that's like an easy move.
Because I can pull up a precinct now, and it tells me, this is what congressional district it's in.
Oh, yeah.
District. I can bump out a quorum court district and bump over the new one and save it, and they're done, that's changed.
Yes.
Wow.
But if I have to go through a precinct and figure out which streets are going to this precinct and which streets are going to this precinct, and where are they at? Because sometimes it says, it's like, some of these streets in Fayetteville, it'll start up here, and then it'll end, and then it'll have like Greg Street. It's like, three different places.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you're like, which part am I moving, and
Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that leaves a lot of room for error, which you don't need.
yes.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, well, I mean, I think what we've got is a good start, and, we'll just kind of put it on hold
I agree.
for now.
It's fine. What mechanism or what process do we want to put in place for getting feedback on these things? Like, what's the public comment mechanism right now?
So, right now, obviously, the maps are listed on our website along with my email address. And
Yeah.
so everyone has my email address, my phone number, so they can call, email, the comments to us. I feel like for the commission, as far as like working on this process,
Mm-hmm.
I think having these meetings are great, and when the commission has narrowed it down to pretty much a map that like they
There's some
agree on.
consensus about, yeah.
Exactly. Then we actually have a meeting where the public can come in and actually make comments about the map. I feel, it's not that we don't want public comment or the public to watch and to have everything, but it will, we'll just keep feeding on it as we're
Exactly,
trying to
yeah.
figure out what it is that we want to do.
It creates more confusion in the long
Yeah,
run.
and so obviously, every map we look at will be posted. So, you know,
Yeah.
the public is like, I love, like, say in the end, we say we like map 5. You know, the public can come back and say, hey, really, I like 4, and these are the reasons I like 4, then I'll
And then we
bring
might be
all
able
of that to the commission.
To incorporate
Yeah.
in one from another and vice versa.
Exactly. And I feel like kind of, having it done that way will be productive for us, because the commission is a small commission. There's just 3 of us, or three commissioners. And so, but just having the public email my office.
Yeah, good,
I'll just keep those. I can even post those comments, just like kind of the state has done. Like, they post every comment that they receive, every email that they receive. They just kind of have a tab for it, so that others can see, the other comments and stuff, so.
Yeah.
There's a lot of moving parts.
I was gonna say, there's a lot of moving parts. I think you just getting the feedback.
Yeah.
If people have comments or whatever, they should send it to you.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're gonna contact us individually too.
Right.
They should send it to you, and I'd say just send it to us.
Yeah, and
Provide
then,
it to us,
yeah.
Yeah.
And then I'll
Yeah.
provide it at the meetings if for some reason,
Yeah,
for the commission and everything. So, yeah, so definitely, like I said, I have the maps posted, the criteria, like everything we do, and I can go back in and do recaps of our meetings. And I've got the link for our YouTube channel. So if they wanted to go back and watch our YouTube.
See if that's true.
That link is there as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Seems good.
Well,
As long as folks can all see the map and your email address is there and they
right.
It is.
watch the meetings, that seems great.
As you go along, when you schedule your meetings, you're gonna know more and more as time goes,
Right.
how many school districts have you got now, 3 or 4?
So, so I've gotten back, we will need to set a meeting, at some point. I've gotten back 4, I have Prairie Groves, West Fork, and Elkins.
Okay.
Springdale has approved their map, so I have 3 in my office and 1 coming to my office, because the commission will also have to approve those zone maps. We can wait and approve them all at once, or if we have a meeting next week or the week after, I can bring in what I have and go ahead and get those approved.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Be waiting on them.
And 4 of those, you got all those lines that go on the map, all those district boundaries.
Yeah.
You got the district boundaries, and now you've got 5 zones and 4 of them that you didn't have before.
So,
There's a bunch more precincts.
Oh, yeah.
Renee, where you were looking at all this stuff in Elkins, now imagine there's gonna be school zones.
Oh, yeah, on top of that.
And the same in West Fork.
Oh, my goodness, yeah. Wow.
It's gonna be, in a word, brutal. It really is.
Yeah.
There are 42 school zones in Washington County, so, it'll be a chore.
Yeah.
You'll have to approve those, and when you do, then, you'll be looking at new precincts and split precincts, and just about all those new ones will.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I would say at this point, a meeting would only be a potential meeting unless we just really, they surprised us and got this stuff for us before the beginning in November.
I don't want to make more work on you guys either. I mean, whatever the simplest process is here to move forward.
But I really want to see some more maps. I'm just
Do you want to see it?
About that. I am.
See them before the house?
Oh, well, I would say, I would just like some preliminary, I mean, I don't know how painful this is.
Christina should.
Yeah, maybe she should have If she's starting to pull her hair out now, then we've got a problem, but I guess, the miracle of computers is that a lot of these things can be laid out and relayed if you don't like the way they look. And so that's kind of where I am is,
sure,
if it can be done, it can be done, and we want it done.
So, what is, Becky, for you particularly, would you like to see a map with 6, 9, and kind of 12 actually following the city limit lines, if possible?
They didn't follow the city limits. Did they follow the city limit lines before?
That's why if you look on,
Is it, are those,
if you look on
are
this
those the
map,
same city
see
limit
all
lines?
yeah.
Is that what it is now?
Yeah, if you see all these little, like, things.
And there's some of them that are new annexations that
Yeah.
went on, and they
Yeah.
had 70 precincts.
Yeah,
Might be a possibility of combining some of those precincts.
yeah,
And that area
So-
where we've drawn the line on past could potentially be one precinct.
Oh, yeah.
But then if you had 4 annexations out there, you know, you could end up with 4 new ones if you did follow it, and you're just cutting into the new one is otherwise. So, you know, I'm not sure there's an easy answer to that question.
Yeah.
And the state may solve that anyway, because they may follow that line and,
Mhm.
you know, they did before, you know.
they follow the city limit line.
Some cases, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I wonder too, if they might follow city limit lines along this,
Yeah, we'll know better when we see what
yeah,
they do.
along this.
Well, we're on the 22nd right now. Next Friday's the 29th, close to November 1st. If indeed that's when, so potentially we could have something to really look at seriously the first week in November, if indeed they get the state work done. I don't think that we need to meet before then.
I don't disagree.
So,
Unless you've got something else. I mean,
No,
we can do all the school zones pretty much at
So-
the same time, right?
I would say yes, we can. If we're going to meet that first week in November, which is a good idea, we probably should meet either the 3rd or the 4th.
Okay.
Because the city of Fayetteville will have
Oh,
met
that's right,
on
yeah.
November the 2nd.
Yeah.
And then, I'll work with Blake to make sure that we have the documents so that we can kind of tackle that project as well. So either the 3rd or the 4th, the 5th is, I am teaching that OSHA class.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
So I'll be tied up with that, but the
Okay.
3rd or the 4th, would work for us, maybe the 3rd in the afternoon.
Okay,
Yeah, I fly out, I gotta go to Louisville for work on the 4th. I think I fly out at like 11 or,
okay,
On
so
the
if we
4th?
make it on the 3rd,
So
yeah,
on
the 3rd, I think I'm fine.
Okay, so a 1 o'clock meeting?
1 PM sounds
that
good to
works.
me.
Okay, I'll text,
At the Cincinnati or?
No, I think I'm flying into Louisville. Yeah, I think so.
Mm.
Connect through Atlanta, but, yeah, I know, funny. I've been one other time and I drove, so, not easy to get there.
Okay, well, let's just, look at that, and we'll have some resolution hopefully on Fayetteville. And, we can do, if you've got all the, school zone maps
Yep.
at that point,
I'll
we
bring
can do
those
that.
too.
Now, I notice you've got something here on express vote. We haven't talked about, well, you know, we still need to talk about our, provisional ballot hearing too. And she's not here and
She's
has
not
not been,
here.
so
Yeah,
we're,
and you signed the
Sure.
certificate?
yeah,
Okay.
we signed those. So we should be, is Evelyn gonna see if she showed up somewhere?
Step out.
Oh, okay. So what do you got for us on the express vote software upgrade?
So this is what our new express votes are going to look like.
Oh, yeah,
They have been at
Triple
the South
column.
Campus, and have done all the machines at the South Campus. They'll be up in my office on Monday, and we'll do the remaining machines on Monday. But that, yeah, is what it looks like,
super.
so.
Oh, that looks like it's gonna clean things up a bit.
I think so. On this, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 issues on one screen.
Right, that's pretty
So-
cool.
So, yeah. And we'll get sample data and like 6 poll books in next week.
Oh,
And then we have training on November the 15th and 16th on the poll books and the new software for the express vote.
wow, okay. Okay, we are tabling some of this review of the JP districts until we've got a little more clarity on it, and, do you have any other business? Gentlemen, do you have any questions down there?
Comments?
No, I have no questions.
Well, we appreciate your being here,
Sure.
and, if we don't have any other business, we're adjourned.
Oh, cool.
Thank you, Jeff, for coming and for
Yes,
being at our beck and call.
yes, thank you.